In a world where everyone is shouting to be seen, the man who says nothing becomes the most noticeable. Think about it. When you're in a room full of noise, it's not the loudest voice that commands your attention, it's the silence that makes everyone turn. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you the difference between men who react and men who lead. They say power belongs to those who speak. But the truth is, real power belongs to the man who doesn't react, he responds. And there's a difference so sharp, it defines who gets controlled and who does the controlling. Most men live in reaction mode. Someone disrespects them, they snap. A woman pulls away, they panic. Their emotions sit right beneath the surface, ready to explode at the slightest touch. But the silent man, he doesn't move unless he means to. He doesn't flinch, because he's not reacting from insecurity, he's responding from awareness. The difference is precision. One acts on impulse, the other acts on intention. Picture a woman trying to push your buttons. She ignores your text, she shows up late, she flirts with another guy just to see what you'll do. The average man gets emotional, he argues, he complains. He starts asking questions like, "Are you still into me?" The silent man doesn't say a word. He notices, he steps back, and when he does speak, it's calm, controlled, and impossible to ignore. That restraint, it drives her crazy, because she can't read him. She can't trigger him, and that makes her wonder what he knows that she doesn't. That tension builds in her mind like a storm she can't escape, because here's what no one tells you. Your ability to stay calm in chaos is more attractive than any line you could say. It signals strength. It signals certainty, and women are hardwired to trust the man who doesn't shake. In relationships, the man who reacts is always one step behind. He's dancing to someone else's rhythm. But the man who responds, he chooses the music, he sets the pace, and everyone else follows. This trait is the foundation of Stoic power. Marcus Aurelius didn't win because he had perfect control over the empire. He won because he had perfect control over himself. And that's what separates the average from the exceptional. So next time someone disrespects you, disappoints you, or tries to provoke you, don't give them what they expect. Don't react. Pause, breathe, and then respond with clarity. Not to prove anything, but to remind them who you are. Because the man who responds instead of reacts isn't just respected, he's untouchable. And in the next part, you'll understand how even silence between words becomes a weapon in the hands of a man who knows how to use it. They say timing is everything. But what if I told you that the most powerful timing is the pause? Because silence, when it's deliberate, is power. It creates space. It forces others to fill the void. And in that moment, control shifts. Most men think they need to say more to be understood. They try to impress with big words, long explanations, endless opinions. The silent man doesn't just speak less. He knows exactly when not to speak. He masters the space between words. And in that space, people reveal themselves. Most men rush to fill silence. They blurt out answers. They interrupt. They explain things that don't need explaining, all because they're uncomfortable with tension. But tension is where power lives. The pause isn't hesitation, it's dominance in disguise. Think about the last time someone paused before responding to you. Not because they didn't know what to say, but because they were choosing their words with precision. Didn't it make you lean in? Didn't it make you pay more attention? That's not an accident. That's control. The silent man knows this. He speaks slowly, deliberately, and in every pause, he signals one thing: I'm not rushing for you. I'm not explaining myself. I'm not afraid of what silence might reveal, because here's the truth. People panic when you don't respond instantly. They start projecting. They wonder what you're thinking. They question their own words. And in that mental spiral, you've already won. The pause creates imbalance. It shifts the frame of the conversation. You're no longer reacting, you're observing. You're no longer seeking connection, you're filtering value. This applies in arguments, in seduction, in negotiation. A man who doesn't flinch under pressure becomes the pressure. And that's what Stoicism teaches. Emotional stillness isn't weakness, it's strategy. So next time someone says something insulting, don't respond. Let the silence grow uncomfortable. Let them drown in it. Next time a woman teases you, don't rush to defend or joke. Pause. Let the tension sit there. Because in that pause, you force the world to meet you at your pace. And that's what makes people remember you, not just for what you said, but for the power you held when you said nothing at all. But it doesn't stop there, because in the next part, we'll dive into why the silent man listens not like a friend, not like a therapist, but like a predator. And that changes everything. Most people listen to reply. The silent man listens to understand and to dominate, not with aggression, not with volume, but with presence so sharp it cuts through the noise. He's not nodding aimlessly. He's not waiting for his turn to speak. He listens like a predator studies its prey. Focused, still, silent. And in that stillness, people talk more than they should. They reveal their fears, their insecurities, their intentions. Because here's the paradox: when you say less, others say more. When you stop trying to be heard, you start hearing everything. And when you truly listen, you start to control. The silent man doesn't interrupt. He observes, he tracks patterns. He notices what others miss. The shift in tone, the hesitation in a voice, the way someone says they're fine, but tightens their jaw when they do. These aren't words, they're tells. And every tell is leverage. But here's the truth. Words are cheap. Presence isn't. The man who speaks less isn't lacking thoughts. He's filtering. He's choosing when his voice should cut through the noise like a blade. And that restraint makes him unpredictable. It makes people lean in, wonder, wait. You've probably met someone like this. In relationships, this is how he wins without chasing. A woman speaks and he lets her fully. She fills the space he leaves open. And when he finally responds, it lands. Not because it's louder, but because it's rooted in understanding. She feels seen, not by flattery, but by presence. And nothing hooks deeper than that. When you listen like a predator, you don't just hear words, you hear motives, you hear lies. You hear truth hiding behind polite smiles. That's what makes the silent man dangerous. He knows what others reveal when they think no one is watching. And he never reveals what he knows unless it's useful. That's the kind of man people fear, but also follow. Because you can't manipulate someone who listens better than you lie. You can't dominate someone who already sees through you. And that's why the silent man rarely argues. He doesn't need to. He's already won before you knew the game started. So ask yourself, do you really listen? Or are you just waiting to speak? Because the next time you sit in silence, don't see it as weakness, see it as a weapon. And in the next part, you'll understand why when the silent man does speak, his words hit harder than most people's entire conversations. Most men talk just to be heard. The silent man speaks to be felt. And that's why when he opens his mouth, the room listens. Not because he's louder, but because every word carries weight. You see, the average man floods conversations with noise. Opinions, justifications, random filler to avoid awkwardness. He believes that more words mean more power. But it's the opposite. Power comes from precision. The fewer the words, the more they matter. That's why the silent man chooses his language like a blade. Sharp, intentional, unforgiving. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't soften the edges. He says what needs to be said, nothing more. And the impact is brutal. Because people aren't used to words that cut straight to the core. Think about the last time someone said something simple, yet it stuck with you for days. That wasn't an accident. That was mastery. The silent man doesn't try to impress with vocabulary. He impresses with clarity. While others ramble to prove intelligence, he states truth with calm finality. And it's that restraint that creates gravity. Women feel it. Friends respect it. Enemies fear it. Because when a man speaks in weighted words, you know he means what he says, and more importantly, that he doesn't say everything he knows. That mystery, it makes people lean in. It makes them second guess. It gives his silence a presence louder than most people's shouting. So how do you cultivate this? Simple. Stop speaking from insecurity. Start speaking from intention. Every time you feel the need to fill space, pause. He enters a conversation but barely says anything. He listens, observes, and when he does speak, every word lands like a punch. You don't forget it. You don't question it. Because it didn't come from the need to be heard. It came from clarity. Ask yourself if what you're about to say builds power or bleeds it. Because the man who masters restraint becomes unforgettable, not because he dominates the room with volume, but because he dominates it with silence broken only by words that echo. And the next trait is even more dangerous. Because while most men try to explain themselves to be liked, the silent man knows this silence is the most feared answer in the world. And he uses it like a sword. Most people are terrified of silence. They take it as rejection, as judgment, as absence. But the silent man, he wields it like a weapon. While others scramble to explain, to defend, to be understood, he sits comfortably in the void. And that silence says everything. You see, silence isn't passive, it's pressure. When a man refuses to respond, refuses to explain, refuses to entertain emotional chaos, he shifts the burden. Now it's not him trying to fix the moment. It's them trying to fill the silence he's created. That shift is psychological warfare. A woman texts something passive-aggressive. Most men reply immediately. They try to smooth it over. Not him. He leaves it on read, not to punish, but to project one message: I don't play emotional games. A coworker throws shade in a meeting. The average guy gets flustered, defensive. The silent man says nothing, just stares. And that stillness cuts deeper than any comeback ever could. Because here's the truth. People remember what you don't say more than what you do. When you're silent, they invent explanations, they project, they unravel, and that's the power. The silent man doesn't waste energy proving himself. He doesn't chase validation. He makes the world respond to his lack of response, and in relationships, this is deadly. A woman might test him, push him, try to shake him, and all he gives her is silence. Not coldness, not cruelty, but presence without performance, and that drives her crazy in the best way. Because she can't figure him out, she can't control him, and in that space of not knowing, attraction grows. Not every moment demands a response. Not every insult deserves a reaction. Sometimes the most dominant move is stillness. Sometimes the strongest answer is no answer at all. That's how the silent man wins, by saying nothing while everyone else reveals everything. And if you think that's powerful, wait until you understand why he never explains himself. Not to women, not to friends, not to anyone. Because the moment you start explaining, you've already surrendered your frame. And he never does that. He doesn't explain himself, not because he can't, but because he knows he doesn't have to. The silent man understands one truth that most never learn. The moment you start explaining, you start justifying. And the moment you justify, you lower your value. Silence, in a world addicted to noise, is terrifying. It forces people to sit with their own thoughts. It exposes weakness. It reveals desperation. That's why most people fill silence with nonsense, because they can't stand the weight of it. But the silent man, he's comfortable in that weight. People who are unsure explain. People who seek approval explain. But the man who's rooted in certainty, he lets his actions speak. He lets his silence judge. And that silence is louder than any excuse. Think about how most interactions play out. A woman pulls away and the average guy chases with explanations. Did I say something wrong? I just wanted to make sure you understood me. But every word he says chips away at his power. Because now she's not wondering about him. She's watching him beg. The silent man never begs. He lets people make their assumptions, and if they walk away, he lets them. Because his value doesn't come from being understood, it comes from being unshakable. In an argument, he doesn't overtalk, he doesn't defend. He states what he believes, clearly once, and leaves it there. If you get it, good. If you don't, that's on you. That's the energy women feel but can't explain. The man who won't chase clarity. The man who can let misunderstanding live, and it drives them wild. Because most men seek emotional resolution, he seeks inner control. And that's what makes him rare. Explaining is a subtle plea. It's a way of saying, please don't misunderstand me. Which is another way of saying, please don't reject me. But the silent man knows that the fear of being misunderstood is the fear of being abandoned. And he's past that. He would rather be misunderstood than be weak. He would rather hold his frame than be liked. And this terrifies people. Because when someone doesn't explain themselves, you start questioning your own judgment. That uncertainty is power. That tension is leverage. So stop justifying. Stop over-clarifying. If someone misreads your silence, let them. If someone accuses you, pause. Look at them and say nothing, because in a world of constant noise, explanation is cheap. But self-trust, that's priceless. And the man who doesn't explain becomes the man no one can figure out. And next, you'll see how that mystery only grows stronger when he moves with intention and protects his energy like a warrior guarding his kingdom. Every move he makes is deliberate. Every glance, every gesture, every step, it all carries intent. The silent man doesn't fidget, he doesn't pace, he doesn't waste motion or energy. Because he knows something most men don't: the body speaks before the mouth ever does. And when you move with purpose, people feel it before they understand it. Watch how he enters a room, no rush, no nervous scanning, just slow, grounded steps like every inch of ground belongs to him. That's not arrogance, that's discipline. Because the man who owns his movement owns the moment. But it doesn't stop there. He also guards his energy like something sacred. He doesn't hand it out to just anyone. He owns it. This is why women are drawn to quiet men, not because they're mysterious, but because their silence demands respect. It signals self-control, emotional stability, depth, and that makes them unpredictable. The man who can sit in silence without anxiety is the man who doesn't need anyone's approval. He's not in every group chat. He doesn't reply to every message. He doesn't overshare. Not because he's rude, but because his attention has value, and people sense it. A woman talks to him and she knows she's not getting everything, just a glimpse. And that glimpse becomes obsession, because mystery isn't built by saying less, it's built by showing less, by being selective with where you look, who you respond to, what you laugh at. Every interaction becomes a test. Are you worth the effort? Are you worth the words? Are you worth the energy? Most men leak energy. They try to be everywhere for everyone, and in doing so, they become forgettable. But the man who's rarely available, who seems like he's always in control of what he gives and when he gives it, he becomes unforgettable, because people start wondering, what's he doing when he's not here? What's he thinking when he goes quiet? That absence becomes presence. That distance becomes power. So the next time you walk into a room, don't rush, don't smile to please, don't speak first. Hold your frame. Move like a man who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Because in a world addicted to urgency, the man who moves slowly, speaks little, and guards his energy becomes a mystery people can't stop chasing. And in the next part, you'll see why that calm, deliberate stillness makes him immune to chaos and makes the world spin around him. While the world panics, he remains still. While others shout, scramble, break down, he simply watches. Because the silent man doesn't just avoid drama. He's immune to it. His emotions don't get hijacked. His state doesn't get dictated by external chaos. And that's exactly why people look to him when everything falls apart. Most men lose themselves under pressure. They react. They lash out. They become emotional hostages to whatever's happening around them. But the man who's trained in silence, in stillness, in restraint, he becomes the calm in the storm. He doesn't resist the chaos. He observes it. He accepts it. And then he decides what deserves a response. That control, that's leadership. In relationships, it's magnetic. A woman gets emotional. She tests him. She throws words like knives, waiting to see if he bleeds. He doesn't. He doesn't argue. He doesn't chase. He just holds his ground. And that scares her in the most seductive way. Because she realizes he's not controlled by her emotions. He's anchored in his own. And that makes her feel something she's not used to feeling around men safe. Because safety doesn't come from softness. It comes from stability. When she screams and he doesn't raise his voice. When she storms out and he doesn't chase. When the world shakes and he doesn't flinch. He's not here to prove himself. He's here to observe who proves themselves to him. And that's the first trait of the silent man. He says nothing, but says everything through presence, through stillness, through the tension he creates without uttering a word. He doesn't fight for attention. That's when she knows this man doesn't need to dominate. He is the dominance, and this applies to every part of life: business, conflict, crisis. While others lose their minds, he keeps his center, and in doing so, he becomes the rare man people trust, follow, crave, because emotional chaos is addictive. But emotional stability, that's legendary. And here's the deeper truth. He didn't become calm by accident. He earned it. Through restraint, through rejection, through hardship. He became the man who doesn't move, because he's already built on rock, not sand. So next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, don't resist, don't react. Just pause, breathe, and stay grounded. Because the one who remains still when everyone else runs, that's the one who controls the outcome. And in the final trait, you'll discover how the silent man chooses his words so carefully. They don't just land, they echo. He doesn't speak to fill silence. He speaks to leave echoes. The silent man knows that words are currency, and he never spends them cheaply. That's why when he speaks, people don't just hear him, they feel him. Most conversations are forgettable, small talk, fluff, empty noise. But when he finally chooses to speak, the room shifts. His voice carries weight because it isn't diluted by overuse. He's built tension through silence, through restraint, through presence. And now, when he finally breaks that silence, the impact is tenfold. Because what's rare is remembered. A single sentence from him hits harder than an entire monologue from someone else. He doesn't try to persuade. He doesn't try to impress. He states truth, calmly, clearly, with no need for applause, and people respect it. They repeat his words later. They think about them long after the conversation ends. That's what it means to speak only when it echoes. It's not about sounding smart. It's about sounding final. It's about saying something so clear, so true, so piercing, that it doesn't just inform. It shifts perspective. This is why the silent man never argues. He doesn't fight to be right. He lets the weight of his words do the work. And that's what makes people second-guess their own noise. Because once you've been around someone like that, all other conversations feel hollow. Women feel it too. She might talk to dozens of guys a week, hear compliments every day, but one line from him, delivered at the right moment, with perfect stillness, stays with her. It lingers, it replays in her head at night, not because he said what she wanted to hear, but because he said what no one else had the nerve or clarity to say. Attention drifts toward him because he doesn't compete. He attracts, not with charm, but with gravity. So ask yourself, when you walk into a room, do you fill the space with noise, or do you let the silence speak for you? Because the man who says less often sees more. And then he went silent again. That's what creates obsession, not presence, but presence that disappears, leaving only the echo. So if you want to speak like him, stop talking so much. Let tension build. Let silence stretch. And when you do speak, speak like it matters. Say only what you're willing to stand behind. Say only what cuts. Because the man who speaks rarely, but with force, is the man whose words get remembered. And that's what gives him true power, not volume, but reverberation. And now you understand. 10 traits, 10 weapons of quiet power. But there's one more thing, the final piece. And it's not something he says, it's the way he lives. Stay close. Because we're not done yet. He doesn't need to say he's different. He lives it. Every action, every choice, every silence. It all reinforces one unshakable truth: he's not like other men. While others chase pleasure, attention, validation, he moves with quiet discipline. He doesn't post quotes about stoicism. He is the quote. He doesn't announce his standards. He lives by them, alone if necessary. Because true power isn't shown when the world is watching. It's forged in solitude, in restraint, in the moments no one sees. He wakes early, not to impress anyone, but because his mission demands it. He trains his body, sharpens his mind, protects his energy. Not for applause, for alignment. His emotions don't rule him. His impulses don't guide him. He chooses peace over chaos, purpose over distraction, and silence over noise. He understands something most never will, that fulfillment doesn't come from saying more, doing more, or being more. It comes from becoming less reactive, less accessible, less available to anything that steals clarity, because when you subtract the noise, what's left is focus. And focus is freedom. That's why he isn't everywhere. He doesn't chase every opportunity. He doesn't answer every call. He knows his direction, and he walks it, unapologetically. That's what makes him rare, not because he's trying to be, but because the world has forgotten what real discipline looks like, what real presence feels like, and what real men are made of. So if you've made it this far, if something in you resonates with the man behind the silence, then this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. And the next move is yours. You don't need to talk more. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to decide, to subtract, to center yourself, and walk forward with the kind of quiet that turns heads, commands respect, and changes lives. Type "I receive it" in the comments if you're ready. And remember, power doesn't shout, it whispers. And the men who master silence are the ones the world never forgets. And the one who controls his tongue usually controls the room. What happens when you stop explaining? When you stop trying? When you just observe and wait? You become unpredictable. And that's where your power begins.